Sometimes we need to widen or change the height of a row. So what we can do, and there are several approaches that we're going to explore here. The first one is the easiest, and that's to simply come up to the column identifier. Okay, and by clicking on it, you'll see a little arrow appears here. If I click the left button on the mouse, it selects the entire column. And you'll notice here that some of the information I want, here we have this first one, there's some characters missing. I can't see them. The column is not wide enough. So let me just choose that column again. In order to make it wider, and there are several approaches, I'm going to come across on the Home tab to Format, which is in the Cell category. And I'm going to use the drop-down arrow. And I'm going to select here that I would like to change the width of the column. Now there are several ways of doing this. Number one, I can choose to change the size of it by simply clicking on it. I'll get this nice little dialog box. And I can now type in a new value. Okay, and if you know what the value is, it's easy enough to do, and then you just simply click on OK. But I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to choose Auto. Now, Auto Fit column width, no matter how wide or how many characters I put into the column, it will automatically resize the entire column according to the widest entry that I put into a cell. So if I keep typing into a cell, it'll keep widening it. So I'm just going to click on this right now since I've selected it. Remember, anything selected can be modified or altered. So I click on it and it automatically widens it. Now it looks kind of weird because it really did widen it, but that has a lot to do with this very first cell. The first cell is huge. The letters in it are huge, but you notice something else here. It too needs to be resized, because what's wrong here is that it's not deep enough, it's not high enough for the content within it, which is quite large. So what I can do is go right back here again, and I can choose Auto Fit the Row. If I click on this, it automatically resizes that row so that now I can see the entire row. Now I'm just going to step back a little bit here. Okay, so I'm back to where I started again without using the format in the cell category. I'm going to do this a little differently. There's another approach here, and I want you to remember it because it's actually quite significant. This little area, which is select all, looks like a triangle. Select all means I can select all the cells on the sheet. And I just clicked on it, and you'll notice all the columns are lit up, all the rows are lit up, the whole document is lit up. So if I choose what I could do, and I want you to remember this, if I double click the line between 1 and 2, it automatically resizes. And that means it has to be away from that triangle in order to expand. Well, that's also true here. If I click between A and B, it will widen A. This is working away from that selection or select all. If I click on it, you notice how it widens the entire cell. So by double clicking on that line, it actually has widened it as well. Now, if I thought, for instance, that this was just a little bit too wide, then what I could do is simply grab that line and I could drag it in and make it smaller. And that's also true here. If I thought, well, maybe this is too deep or not deep enough, I could actually make it deeper still. In other words, higher. So these are some of the methods of actually making your cells larger or smaller, making your columns wider by default, or simply dragging them yourself or double clicking on them. There are several ways of actually exploring that option.